What if I told you that one of the most ruthless villains in One Piece was inspired by one of the greatest symbols of peace in human history? Ironic, isn't it? Saint Ethan Baron v Nusjuro, one of the mysterious five elders, may look familiar for a reason. His appearance is heavily inspired by Mahatma Gandhi, the legendary leader who fought for India's independence through peace and non-violence. Although this was not confirmed by Oda himself, many One Piece fans believed the connection. The first thing fans noticed about Nusjuro is how closely he resembles Mahatma Gandhi. The similarities are difficult to ignore. Both have a completely bald head, a thick white mustache, round wire-rimmed glasses, and wear simple white traditional clothing that resembles Gandhi's iconic dhoti. This isn't likely to be a coincidence. Mahatma Gandhi was one of history's most influential political and spiritual leaders. Rather than using violence, he led India toward independence through peaceful protests, civil disobedience, and the philosophy of non-violence. In a world where almost all people thought that independence is achieved through war and violence, Gandhi's ideals is what the world needs. He inspired millions around the world, making him a global symbol of peace and freedom. But this is where things get interesting. If Nusjuro was inspired by Gandhi, then why does he carry a sword? It feels like a contradiction. Gandhi became a symbol of peace. He believed that true freedom could be won without violence. Nusjuro is the complete opposite. A cold, ruthless ruler who thinks ordinary people are worthless. He stands at the top of the world government. He commands absolute authority, and he has no problem using force to protect that power. So, why would Oda combine these two figures? The answer may be simpler than you think. The inspiration was never about Gandhi's beliefs, it was about the contrast. Oda borrowed the image of one of history's greatest advocates for peace. Then he placed that image on a man who represents fear, control, and oppression. That is why the sword matters. It isn't there to connect Nusjuro to Gandhi, it's there to separate them. But Gandhi's appearance may not be the only real-life inspiration behind Nusjuro. Because when you look beyond his face, another fascinating connection begins to emerge. His biggest inspiration appears when he reveals his true form. At first, it looks like a monstrous horse. But this creature has a real-world origin. It closely resembles the Bakutso, a yokai from Japanese folklore. The Bakutso is often described as a skeletal horse. Its terrifying appearance is tied to death, fear, and the supernatural. Now look at Nusjuro, the long face, the flowing white mane, the exposed bones. The resemblance is hard to ignore. This wasn't just another mythical creature. It was another piece of Japanese history woven into One Piece. But there's one final clue that reveals just how much thought went into his character. That brings us to his name. Saint Ethan Baron v Nusjuro. One part stands out immediately, the letter V. Many fans believe it stands for Venus, and that isn't just a random choice. Every member of the five elders is named after a planet: Mars, Jupiter, Mercury, Saturn. And for Nusjuro, Venus. At first, that may not seem important. But in Roman mythology, Venus is the goddess of beauty, love, and prosperity. Which makes Nusjuro's name feel surprisingly ironic. Because instead of representing peace and beauty, he serves a government built on fear and oppression. And that's what makes Nusjuro such a fascinating character: his appearance, his yokai form, even his name. Each one draws from real history, mythology, and symbolism, and when you put them together, you start to see just how much thought Oda poured into a single member of the gorosei.